Hi, my name's Stuart Harris, and I teach constitutional law right here in Knoxville at Lincoln Memorial University. It's a pleasure to be here, both because I love constitutional law and because I'm a board member here at Blount Mansion. What is Blount Mansion? Well, it's many things. It's, of course, the home of William Blount and his family, and he played a very important role in the establishment of the state of Tennessee. But did you know that he also played a role in the establishment of our nation? Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about government. If you were here in person, I'd ask you if you know what government is, but since we're not together in person, I'll just tell you. A government is a set of rules and people who enforce those rules that keeps order in a given place. You have rules in your classroom, don't you? Well, that's because your teacher establishes those rules, and that's how you're able to learn things instead of having people running around and pulling each other's hair all day. Well, similarly, a nation needs rules. It needs a government. And so, 11 years after we declared independence from Britain, it took us a while, we put together a document called the Constitution of the United States, which created our national government. And William Blount was one of 55 guys who went to Philadelphia in the summer of 1787 and put that document together. Now, a word about that. There were 55 guys, 55 white guys who all owned property, just like William Blount. Does that seem fair to you? Not me either. No women, no people of color. It's gotten better since then, but we have to recognize it was a very different time. What did these 55 white men accomplish? Well, they created a government with 3 different branches to do the 3 things that governments do. One branch, called the Congress, makes the rules, laws. The second branch, the executive, well, the president enforces the rules. And finally, the third branch, the judiciary, the judges, well, they judge any disputes that come up pursuant to these rules. This is the first government in history, first of all, to be created in a written document, and secondly, to divide powers of government up this way, to make sure that no one person becomes too powerful. Indeed, in addition to our 3 different branches of government, we have 50 state governments. This is called a federal system, and it divides power up between all sorts of different people all across our nation. In fact, if you've been paying attention to this year's presidential election, you saw that our states are extremely important. They each have their own election, they each count their own votes, and that makes it very difficult for anyone to mess with an election. It can't happen on a national basis because each state does it separately. Now, William Blount's signature appears very prominently on the United States Constitution. He didn't talk much when he was at the convention, but he was darn sure to protect his interests and his family's interests back in North Carolina. Wait, you say, North Carolina, what do you mean? Wasn't he from Tennessee? Well, yeah, but Tennessee didn't exist in 1787. What we call Tennessee was part of North Carolina. But it was at that constitutional convention that North Carolina decided to give up its claims to Tennessee, to give it to the national government, and to let it become its own state. Now, before it could become its own state, it was a national territory called the Southwest Territory, and guess who George Washington appointed to be the very first governor of that Southwest Territory? You guessed it, William Blount. So that's when he shifted from the national stage up in Philadelphia and came back to the state that he so loved and helped to create. So you see, William Blount was important not just here in Tennessee, but in the nation as a whole, and that's among the many things that makes Blount Mansion so important. Because of all the people who signed the Constitution, William Blount is the only one who has a home, Blount Mansion, which is not located in one of the original 13 states. Now, you know why.